Hello everyone, welcome back once again. We'll start with our geography chapter, resources and development, chapter 1. In this session, I will be discussing basically the whole of the chapter in detail. Here are some notes that I have prepared. You can look through them, note down whatever you want to. We'll be reading chapter side by side as well. Uh, One more thing, maps I will not be discussing for geography in this video right now. I'll be making separate videos for maps in detail, whichever maps are in your syllabus specific to your boards. Uh, so without any delay, let's start. First of all, resources and development. Uh, Basically in this chapter we'll be studying about resources. What are resources? In our daily lives we constantly depend on a variety of materials that are provided by nature and modified by humans to fulfill our needs. These are known as resources. That is something that is provided naturally by nature, and humans take them, modify them according to their needs. And these materials are known as resources. In this chapter, we'll be introducing the concept of resources, their classification, that is, what are natural, what are man-made resources, and how they are developed and managed to lead our day-to-day lives that we are leading right now. Also, we will explore how resources are unevenly distributed throughout the world, and even in richer people have more access to resources, whereas poorer people don't, and how this can lead to social and economic issues. That all the issues more or less are magnified by uneven distribution of resources in nature, be it political conflicts among countries, or be it conflicts amongst different social classes of our society. Okay, we'll also be focusing on sustainable development. We have heard this word many a times. Basically, we have to also fulfill our needs, and also think about our future generations that are going to come and how they will lead their life. So we have to judiciously use our resources so that we can lead our current life, and also make preparations or save some for our future generations. We'll be discussing the need for conservation alongside a discussion on land resources and soil types in India. Basically, we'll be discussing resources in brief. Then we'll be discussing about development a little, and of course some unevenly distribution of resources and resource planning that specific to India. Lastly, we'll be discussing a major resource, that is land, in which on which we live, we build, we grow our food, everything. We lead our lives on land basically. So this is a very important resource, and we'll be discussing in detail along with soil types in India. Also, the map of soil types in India is in your syllabus, but I'll be discussing this the map in detail, and how you can some tips and tricks to map, visualize, and remember the maps and how to fill it in a later video. Now, without further delay, let's start chapter wise, page wise. In fact, in the first page we are basically discussing what are resources and their definition. I have already written your definition here. uh, this is your definition of resources, and of course their classification is also on the basis of these factors. This chapter begins by defining resources as all natural, human made, and human resources. Resources are all natural, human made, and human resources that satisfy our needs, that material substances, or living beings that satisfy. We classify resources on different bases, some of which are origin, that is biotic living resources, and abiotic non-living resources. Exhaustibility, that is a resource will be exhausted or not, hence renewable and non-renewable resources. Ownership, that is either they are owned by individuals, community, national and international resources. Status of development, that is potential, that is at present if their resources are uh, being developed, or they will become stocked in future. So potential, developed, stock, and reserve are resources. Developed are those resources which we are already developed by humans and we are putting into use. Potential, we are working on them. Stock is in future, we are researching technology to use them. And reserve is alternative resources. Okay, yeah, they are here in the book. If you want to mark this point, it is here. So this is a diagram which basically summarizes your definition of resources. Human beings at the center, physical environment, nature, institution, technology. And this is the interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. Okay, now here we have resources, natural resources, human resources. Natural may we have renewable or non-renewable. Renewable resources, that is continuous resources, or that is we cannot exhaust them, that is wind and water. Of course, what fresh water can be exhausted, but we are working on that. Save water, right? Biological resources, that is natural vegetation, forests, and wildlife. Of course, forests are renewable because they continuously grow. We can, the growth cycle of a tree is less than a growth cycle of, production process of coal. Hence, it is a renewable resources, but of course, in short term, it can be exhausted. Hence, we have designated reserve forests to, basically that it doesn't come at a point where we don't have trees in short term, right? Wildlife, of course it is a renewable resource, but once again we have several exhausted species of animals in our history. Hence conservation is important. They can reproduce, they can, in short term their numbers can go up, but of course continuous hunting, poaching can lead to their decline as well. Non-renewable resources are recyclable, that is metal resources, and non-recyclable fossil fuels. Fossil fuels take thousands and millions of years to make, hence they are non-recyclable, non-renewable at that. Recyclable metals are, of course, we are mining. At one point there will be no metal to mine. It also takes millions of years to be, make like metals like gold, silver, iron, everything. They have been on our earth for thousands of, millions of years in fact, but they are recyclable. We can take our gold, melt it, and make it into something new. Similarly, iron can be melted and made into something new. We can recycle, and we should recycle so that resources can be conserved. Now, human resources, structures and institution, quality and quantity. Human resources, of course, we ourselves are a resource. We have our, our mind is a resource. We can think of things, we can think of alternative resources for us. Hence, human resources. And of course, structures and institutions that we make are also resources. That is our infrastructure. We have made electrical lines, that is a resource. We are electricity, we use natural forces of wind, water, and convert into electricity and for us. Hence we are a resource, as well as infrastructure is also a resource. Moving on, this is we will discuss something. You have to read this page is very important. Development and resources is basically the topic. In this part, it highlights the concept of sustainable development, emphasizing the need to use resources wisely so that future generation can also benefit from them. ये सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट की छोटी डेफिनेशन है. टेक्निकल डेफिनेशन वी कैन ऑल्सो फाइंड इट हेयर. Look into it. Of course, Rio de Janeiro Summit 1992 and Agenda 21 are also very important because they are a part of sustainable development, and we have these right here. Read through it and make some points from that. They can be asked. Okay. Moving on. Here 3 points. Which I have already written in my notes as well. Why development and resources, are contradictory sometimes. Depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals. That is uneven distribution की वजह से resources deplete हो जाते हैं कुछ लोगों की greed की वजह से. We have to emphasize need of resources, not greed for resources. Okay. Accumulation of resources in few hands, this is a very, very prevalent problem. Some people have too much money to count, some people don't. Similarly, access to resources is unevenly divided. Accumulation of resources in a few hands divided society into segments, haves and have-nots, or rich or poor. Last, indiscriminate exploitation of resources is also prevalent. Nowadays, at present, we are working towards, global summits are being held. Similarly to Rio de Janeiro and Agenda 21 are being held and discussed. But of course, currently developing countries especially are using resources indiscriminately because of development. But we are also looking into good sources of energy and resources which are renewable and recyclable. Hopefully we'll be moving on towards a better future and save some for our future generations. Now next topic is resource planning. Very fast resource planning basically is essential due to the uneven distribution of resources across regions, across people, which can lead to imbalances in development. India is a very good example of it because India has a large land mass, and some areas are like, we have deserts, we have peninsulas, we have forest region in our northeast, different temperature, different climates, different tropical regions we have in our India. Hence it is very common that some places are rich in minerals, some places are rich in particular resource, but it does not hamper India's development. We have to increase cooperation and saving of our resources. India has taken steps for resource planning at national. We have some resource policies at national, state and regional levels as well, and local levels like panchayat government are also taking into these disparities in resources across society. रिसोर्स प्लानिंग की टेक्निकल डेफिनेशन है इज द सिस्टमैटिक प्रोसेस ऑफ आइडेंटिफाइंग, evaluating and strategically using available resources for sustainable development. This is the definition. Please note it down. It ensures that resources are utilized efficiently and equitably without over exploitation or wastage. Another point, please note it down. Next, need for resource planning. We have हमने resource planning discuss कर ली, definition लिख ली. What is the need? फर्स्ट पॉइंट हमने अभी अनइवन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज लिखा है. सम आर रिच इन सर्टेन रिसोर्सेज वाइल सम अदर्स आर डेफिशिएंट. एग्जाम्पल्स हैं झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़, मध्य प्रदेश मिनरल्स एंड कोल, राजस्थान में सोलर एंड विंड एनर्जी पोटेंशियल, अरुणाचल प्रदेश अबंडेंट वाटर रिसोर्सेज बट लैक्स इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. Similarly, regional disparities arise because of these in economic and social development. Overutilization and depletion, definition में से ही हमें पॉइंट मिल रहे हैं नीड के. हम ओवर यूटिलाइज कर लेते एक पर्टिकुलर रिसोर्स को, उसकी डिप्लीशन हो जाती है, हेंस अनइवन इम्बैलेंसेस. एक्सेसिव यूज़ ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, नॉन रिन्यूएबल वाले जैसे फॉसिल फ्यूल्स होते हैं, डिप्लीशन हो जाती है अगर हमको कॉन्टिन्यूसली लार्ज अमाउंट में यूज़ करते रहें. हेंस ऑल्टरनेटिव सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी आर रिक्वायर्ड and they should be promoted to local levels as well. Like individually we should be dependent at least 50-50 on solar wind energy and 50 on fossil fuel energy. Sustainable development, of course, future generations के लिए कुछ छोड़ के जाना है. Hence this. Now moving on, we have covered resource planning. We are going to move on land utilization. Here we are, land resources. We have done conservation of resources. Land resources, very good. Come here, land resources. We are looking at two aspects of land resources, their utilization and their degradation that has happened specific to India. Land resources are and we will discuss on land resources, which is we have land use patterns in India, land degradation and conservation measures that has been taken. Natural resource that forms for a base for all human activities. Land is a natural resource that forms a base for all human activities. That is, हम सब कुछ अपनी लैंड पे करते हैं, be it living, be it producing our food, be it looking for traveling, be it our infrastructure is developed on this land. Hence it is a base for all human activities, and it is very important that it should be utilized to its greatest potential, as well as making it and saving it. Okay, now land, but of course land is also unevenly distributed across different countries. Types of lands are different, like some are suitable for agriculture, some are suitable to be forest, some are rich in minerals and have to be mined, and some have suitable for construction of settlements and infrastructure. Hence countries fight over land and resources throughout ancient times. India has a geographical area of 3.28 million square kilometer, but we have a high population as well. Hence our population density is also high. Usable land, of course, not all of this land is usable for agriculture or habitation. We have mountains, deserts and forested areas cover a significant portion of this land, and we cannot disturb them, as nature is giving us resources. We have to respect nature as well. India only has 2.4% of the land area, but 16.7% of the world's population. This is the India's tragedy. We only have 2% of, roughly 2-3% of world's land area, but we have almost 17% of the world population residing in this area. So you can see how high our population density is and how basically unevenly distributed our land resources are. Now we have factors influencing land use. Physical factors, topography, climate, soil type, and availability of water, influence our land use. And human factors, population density, like I talked. Cultural traditions. So a people of certain culture will settle in a particular area. Level of economic development, people move to cities in search of better future and better living standards. Hence some areas are very have high population density because of their development. People, of course, in India also you can see people are migrating from village to cities, and Indians also migrate to abroad in search of better so hence population is moving throughout. Policies and planning, of course, if you have favorable policies in your area and they're in favor of you, you'll like to settle down there. Land degradation is also a major concern of India. It is affecting our productivity and quality of land. Causes of land degradation, please you can note down. I've been talking so much. Just take a look. Natural causes, human made causes. And then we'll be moving on to conservation of resources. And then we have covered this portion, and we are on soil as a resource. So very fast we have covered the chapter. 5 more minutes and we'll be done with this chapter. Then you can read through the chapter once again on your own and take a look at the notes as well. We'll be providing these notes soon on our website. Do keep a look. Okay. कंजर्वेशन ऑफ लैंड रिसोर्सेज कैसे, ये हम बचपन से पढ़ते आए हैं. इट इज़ same points, but of course try to use the language that is given in books for secure marks. Afforestation, planting trees, contour plowing along contour lines to prevent erosion. Terrace farming हिली एरियाज़ में होती है. शेल्टर बेल्ट्स बनाना ताकि सोइल इरोजन ना हो. रेगुलेटेड ग्रेजिंग, ओवर ग्रेजिंग ना हो, उसे रेगुलेट करो. ठीक है. माइनिंग और क्वेरिंग पे कंट्रोल होना चाहिए. ओवर माइनिंग, किसी भी चीज़ को ओवर करना इज़ बैड फॉर समथिंग. ओके, हम ज़्यादा खा लेते हैं, हम बीमार हो जाते हैं, इसलिए हम जितना ज़्यादा लैंड से निकालेंगे लैंड भी बीमार हो जाएगी. यूज़ ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक फर्टिलाइजर्स, केमिकल्स कम डालो लैंड में. वाटर शेड मैनेजमेंट एंड रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग, सेव वाटर. ओके. सॉइल एज अ रिसोर्स, वी आर मूविंग. ये है हमारा सॉइल का प्रोफाइल. ये डायग्राम भी आप बना सकते हो. कभी कभी पूछा जाता है, नॉट एवरी टाइम, बट इट इज़ गुड. सम ड्राइंग करो, थोड़ा कलर डालो अपने नोट्स में. बेसिकली हम सॉइल के बारे में बात करेंगे. सॉइल का मेजर फीचर है क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ सॉइल्स. टाइप्स ऑफ सॉइल इन इंडिया इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ योर दिस चैप्टर, क्योंकि इससे मैप भी आता है, इससे क्वेश्चंस भी आते हैं. इसको आप ये क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ सॉइल्स इज़ अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. अभी मैंने सब कुछ टेबल की फॉर्म में शॉर्ट फॉर्म में लिख दिया है. ये नोट्स मैं बहुत जल्दी प्रोवाइड कर दूँगी आपकी वेबसाइट पर, वहाँ पर आप ज़रूर चेक कर लेना. अभी जस्ट रीड एंड नोट डाउन इफ़ यू कैन. ओके. Soil, uppermost layer of the earth's crust, that is loose, fragmented and biologically active. That is, it has microorganisms, earthworms जैसे organisms भी हैं. So it is very active and continuously activity is happening in this layer. It is formed by weathering of rocks, is composed of minerals, organic matter, air and water. Okay, soil is a vital natural resource that supports plant life, of course, and if it is supporting plant life, it is also supporting our life. Okay. It supports agriculture, making it essential for human survival. Okay. Now factors affecting soil formation. ये थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा अपनी नॉलेज के लिए है. यू कैन रॉक से बनती है, क्लाइमेट डिपेंड करता है, रिलीफ फीचर्स भी डिपेंड करते हैं, फ्लोरा एंड फौना, आसपास क्या पेड़ पौधे हैं, तो आपकी सॉइल की कंपोजिशन वो डिपेंड करेगा. और कितने साल लगे उस पार्ट ऑफ सॉइल को फॉर्म करने. जितनी ज़्यादा साल लगे, इट एजेस लाइक अ फाइन वाइन. आपने ये कहावत सुनी होगी. सॉइल ऑल्सो, जितना ज़्यादा लंबी टाइम पीरियड से वो सॉइल बनी, उतनी ज़्यादा वो मिनरल रिच होगी. सिमिलरली मूविंग ऑन टू मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक, टाइप्स ऑफ सॉइल इन इंडिया. इंडिया में पहले हम एलोवल सॉइल की बात करेंगे, फीचर्स एंड इसकी ये पॉइंट्स हैं. अगर आपने ये पॉइंट्स कर लिया और अपने पेपर में ये लिख दिए, आपको 100 मतलब फुल मार्क्स मिलेंगे आपके टॉपिक में. एलोवल सॉइल प्लीज़. रिवर्स कैसे फॉर्म हुई? रिवर्स से हुई. इंडस, गंगा, ब्रह्मपुत्रा. नॉर्दर्न प्लेन से पाई जाती है और ईस्टर्न कोस्ट में डेल्टा में. फर्टाइल है, फाइन पार्टिकल्स होते हैं, सैंडी टू सिल्टी लोम टेक्सचर है इसका. इसके कलर लाइट ग्रे टू ऐश ग्रे होता है. एलुवियल सॉइल ये है, पर यहाँ पे आपका कलर इसमें पिक्चर में थोड़ा ब्राउन दिख रहा है, बट इट इज़ लाइट ग्रे टू ऐश ग्रे. ऑफकोर्स क्रॉप्स कौन से ग्रोन होते हैं? राइस, ग्रे, वीट, शुगर केन, पल्सेज, ऑयल्स, ऑल मेजर क्रॉप्स आर ग्रोन इन एलुवियल सॉइल. इसमें क्या होता है? इससे पोटैश होता है, फॉस्फोरिक एसिड और लाइम पाया जाता है. इनकी उसमें alluvial soil the subtypes के बांगर, this is an older less fertile and has कंकर, okay, the soil, and खादर is a newer fertile, this is found near river banks type of alluvial soil. Black soil regular. मूविंग ऑन, दिस इज़ द ब्लैक सॉइल के फीचर्स. फॉर्मेशन वॉल्केनिक डेक्कन प्लेटो में पाई जाती है. क्लेई टेक्सचर है, स्टिकी होती है. डीप ब्लैक टू ग्रे, ब्लैक सॉइल है तो ब्लैक कलर होगा ही. डार्क ब्लैक और ग्रे कलर होता है. कॉटन सबसे ज़्यादा, कॉटन इज़ द मोस्ट फेमस क्रॉप ग्रोन इन ब्लैक सॉइल, ओके. एंड सोयाबीन्स, ग्राउंडनट्स, मिलेट्स भी ग्रो हो सकते हैं इस सॉइल में. कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट, पोटाश, मैग्नीशियम, पुअर एंड फॉस्फोरस, ये इसके अलग अलग फीचर्स और फैक्ट्स हैं. फॉर्मेशन क्रिस्टलाइन इग्नियस रॉक से बनती है. रेड एंड येलो सॉइल पे अगर आ गए हम, उड़ीसा में पाई जाती है, छत्तीसगढ़ उड़ीसा के पार्ट्स में और कुछ सदर्न स्टेट्स में भी है. सैंडी टू क्लेई टेक्सचर है. रेड होती है ये और आयरन ऑक्साइड, और येलो हो जाती है जब हाइड्रेट रहती है, मतलब रेड आयरन ऑक्साइड पाया जाता है इसलिए इसका कलर रेड है. और अगर इसे पानी डालो तो ये थोड़ा येलोइश कलर आ जाता है. इसमें कॉटन, व्हीट, पल्सेस एंड ऑयल सीड ग्रो हो सकते हैं. लो इन नाइट्रोजन हमस रिक्वायर्स फर्टिलाइजर्स. ये सॉइल में नाइट्रोजन हमेस लो होती है, हेंस इट रिक्वायर्स फर्टिलाइजर. ज़्यादा फर्टाइल सॉइल नहीं होती. मूविंग ऑन टू लैटराइट सॉइल. फीचर्स इंटेंस लीचिंग इन हाई रेनफॉल एरियाज विद ऑल्टरनेटिंग वेट एंड ड्राई सीजन्स. फॉर्मेशन इसकी हाई रेनफॉल और ऐसे पाई जाती है. हैंस वेस्टर्न घाट्स, पार्ट्स ऑफ उड़ीसा और वेस्ट बंगाल और नॉर्थ ईस्ट जहाँ पर रेनफॉल ज़्यादा होती है वहाँ पर पाई जाती है. कोर्स होती है, पोरस होती है और एसिडिक सॉइल है. और आयरन कंटेंट की वजह से ये भी रेड कलर में होती है. इसमें हम कैशू नट्स, टी, कॉफ़ी और रबर ग्रो कर सकते हैं. पुअर इन ऑर्गेनिक मैटर, रिक्वायर्स मैन्योरिंग. ऑफ कोर्स ऑर्गेनिक मैटर में पुअर होती है, हैंस वी रिक्वायर ऑर्गेनिक मैन्योरिंग. इसलिए हम मैन्योर, ऑर्गेनिक कंपोस्ट जो होता है उसको यूज़ करते हैं. एरिड डेजर्ट सॉइल. अब इसमें आप पहले कुछ फीचर्स आप देख सकते हो कि लैक्स मॉइस्चर, तो सलाइन होती है, कम फर्टाइल होती है, ड्राई क्लाइमेट में पाई जाती है. राजस्थान, गुजरात हमारे इंडिया में ड्राई एरिया वही है तो वहीं पाई जाएगी. सैंडी होती है, आपको पता है डेजर्ट की सॉइल कैसे होती है, लूज, लाइट ब्राउन टू रेडिश कलर होता है इसका. और सूटेबल आफ्टर इरीगेशन, मतलब बाजरा और बारले ये इतनी ड्राई होती है कि आपको इसको इरीगेट करना पड़ता है, तब जाकर आप बाजरा और बारले से कोर्स ग्रेन्स पे ग्रो कर सकते हैं. लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट वी हैव फॉरेस्ट एंड माउंटेन सॉइल्स एंड देन वी आर डन. ऑर्गेनिक मैटर फ्रॉम फॉरेस्ट कवर से बनती है क्योंकि फॉरेस्ट में पाई जाती है. सिमिलरली कुछ फीचर्स तो ना इसमें आप नाम से ही पहचान सकते हो कि कौन सी सॉइल है ये. हिमालयन रीजन फॉरेस्ट हमारे सबसे ज़्यादा, माउंटेन एरिया हमारे जहाँ है वो सब जगह पर ये सॉइल पाई जाएगी. ऑल्टीट्यूड के हिसाब से इसमें अलग अलग टेक्सचर हो जाते हैं. कभी लोमी सिलिटी पाई जाती है वैली में और कोर्स में अपर स्लोप में हो जाती है. डार्क ब्राउन कलर है. टी, कॉफ़ी, स्पाइसेस ग्रो हो सकते हैं इन लोअर एलिवेशंस. और यहाँ पर सिमिलरली फर्टाइल लोअर वैलीज में फर्टाइल होती है, लेस फर्टाइल होती रहती है जैसे जैसे ऑल्टीट्यूड बढ़ता जाता है. नाउ लास्ट टॉपिक हमारा इस चैप्टर का ये हमने सॉइल कर लिया है. वी आर ऑन द लास्ट पार्ट. ये मैप अभी हम डिस्कस करेंगे नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, ओके. मूविंग ऑन, लास्ट पार्ट सॉइल इरोजन. ये आप नोट कर लीजिए, ये तो आपको खुद पता क्या होता है. कॉन्टोर प्लेइंग, टेरेस फार्मिंग हमने जस्ट अभी डिस्कस करा है. सॉइल इरोजन, रिमूवल ऑफ टॉप साइल बाय विंड, वाटर, ह्यूमन एक्टिविटी. एंड कॉन्टोर प्लेइंग, टेरेस फार्मिंग, शेल्टर बेड, स्ट्रिप क्रॉपिंग, अफर्शन, कंट्रोल ग्रेजिंग हमारे कंजर्वेशन मेथड्स होते हैं. फाइनली वेरी फास्ट चैप्टर इज़ डन. मोस्टली हमने डिस्कस कर लिया है. इट इज़ अ क्विक रीकैप, रिविजन चैप्टर दोबारा आप नोटिस कर लीजिएगा. बाय बाय.